Ram actually names 2 fuel additives in the owner's manual, but almost nobody buys them. Instead, Ram owners are grabbing bottles off the shelf that can foul oxygen sensors, wreck catalytic converters, and kill fuel pumps on the 5.7 Hemi. I am breaking down 7 injector cleaners you should never put in your Ram and 3 that actually work. Number 7, dollar store and gas station fuel treatment. You know those little bottles sitting next to the register at the gas station for $2? The ones with the flames on the label and promises about cleaning your whole engine? Throw them in the trash. I am not even being dramatic. I cracked open a few of these cheap bottles and looked at what is actually in them, and it was pure solvent, 0 PEA, which is the active ingredient that actually dissolves carbon. What these cheap treatments do instead is loosen gunk without dissolving it. So now you have chunks of debris floating through your fuel system, and guess where they end up? Your fuel filter, or worse, jammed in an injector tip on your Hemi. And remember, the 5.7 runs 16 fuel injectors, not 8 like most V8 engines, because of the multi-displacement system. That is 16 chances for one of these cheap solvents to cause a problem. Save your $2 and buy a gas station coffee instead. At least that will do something for you. But those gas station bottles are cheap enough that you are only wasting $2. The next one costs more and somehow does even less. Number 6, STP Basic Gas Treatment. Now, STP makes a ton of products and some of them are fine, but their basic gas treatment and their basic fuel injector cleaner are so watered down that they are barely doing anything. There is so little actual cleaning power in the bottle that you would need to run multiple bottles back to back to get what one bottle of a real cleaner gives you. I have seen forum posts from Ram owners who got check engine lights right after using the basic STP products. Could be a coincidence, but I would not risk it on a 5.7 Hemi when better options cost the same money. And do not confuse the basic STP bottles with STP Ultra, which is a completely different formula, same brand, very different products. Now these next 2 are going to start some arguments in the Ram community. Number 5, Seafoam in the fuel tank. I can already hear the comments, Alex, you are out of your mind. Seafoam is the best product ever made. And listen, I actually like Seafoam, but not in your fuel tank. When you look at the chemical breakdown of Seafoam, it is almost 90% acetone and petroleum-based solvents. When you pour it into a vacuum line and let it soak in the intake manifold, it does a fantastic job cleaning carbon off the intake valves and combustion chamber. That is where Seafoam shines. But when you dump it in a 26-gallon Ram fuel tank, it gets so diluted that it barely touches the injectors. The stuff passes right through. Ram forum members have done bore scope comparisons, and the results from Seafoam in the tank were basically invisible compared to cleaners with actual carbon dissolving detergent. So use Seafoam through the brake booster vacuum line for intake cleaning. It is great for that. But stop treating it like an injector cleaner, because on the Hemi, it just is not one. Seafoam at least has a real use if you apply it the right way. This next product does not even have that going for it when it comes to cleaning your injectors. Number 4, Marvel Mystery Oil. I know this is going to upset some people because Marvel Mystery Oil has been around since the 1920s, and your grandpa probably swore by it. For what it was designed to do, it is a solid product. It is an upper cylinder lubricant. It helps with sticky valves and keeps things moving smoothly up top. But it is not an injector cleaner. It contains no carbon dissolving detergent. It is not going to touch the carbon buildup on your Hemi injector tips or your intake valves. Guys pour it into their Ram trucks thinking they are cleaning the fuel system, and all they are really doing is adding lubrication. That is fine, but it is not solving the problem they think it is solving. This is one of those products that made a lot more sense on carbureted engines back in the day. On a modern Hemi with electronic fuel injection, it is not the right tool for the job. But Marvel Mystery Oil is not the only product riding on decades of reputation instead of actual cleaning chemistry. Number 3. Lucas Upper Cylinder Lubricant. Alright, I am going to get some heat for this one. Lucas makes an incredible oil stabilizer. I use it and I recommend it. If you watched my video on oil additives for the Hemi, you know I am a fan. But their fuel treatment product is not an injector cleaner. It is right there in the name. I have seen Ram owners on the forums run Lucas fuel treatment for 50,000 miles and then pull their throttle body off only to find it still caked in carbon. One guy even did a bore scope test on his Hemi pistons after months of Lucas and saw zero improvement. The product is doing what it says on the bottle. It lubricates your fuel system, but it does not clean it. And too many people confuse the two. Now with Lucas, at least the name tells you what it is. This next product actively tricks people into grabbing the wrong bottle. Number 2. Gumount Basic Fuel Injector Cleaner. This one trips people up all the time. Gumout makes 8 different products, and they sit right next to each other on the shelf at AutoZone. The basic fuel injector cleaner is mostly kerosene with almost no cleaning detergent in it. I think it is one of the most misleading products on the market because people see the Gumout name and assume they are getting the good stuff. They are not. The formula you actually want from Gumout is the Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner, and I will get to that one later. But the basic bottle with the yellow label, skip it. You are paying $8 for fancy kerosene. I had a Ram 2500 owner tell me he ran the basic Gumout every oil change for a year, and his throttle body still looked like the inside of a charcoal grill. Every product on this list so far has cost you under $15 at AutoZone. The number 1 entry on this list can cost you $400 at the Ram dealership. Number 1. The Dealer Fuel Injection Cleaning Service. This one is not a bottle on a shelf. It is the $150 to $400 service your Ram dealer tries to sell you every time you go in for an oil change. I have lost count of how many Ram owners have told me their service advisor pushed this on trucks with less than 30,000 miles. One guy brought his 2022 Ram 1500 in for a simple oil change and walked out with a $400 quote for fuel injection and throttle body cleaning. His truck had 33,000 miles on it and 0 symptoms. You know what that service actually is? In a lot of shops, they hook a canister up to your fuel rail and run a cleaning solvent through it. The solvent costs them maybe $10. The rest is profit. An engineer on one of the Ram forums said he has been designing fuel injectors for major automakers for 30 years. In all that time, he has never seen a single manufacturer recommend injector cleaning as a service. Not a single one. But it gets even better when you find out what Ram actually recommends instead. The Ram Owner's Manual literally tells you to just use a bottle of Techron or Mopar injector cleanup if carbon deposits become an issue. That is a $10 bottle from Walmart doing the same job your dealer wants $400 for. So the next time your service advisor tells you your Hemi needs a fuel system cleaning, ask them to show you where it says that in the maintenance schedule. They will not be able to because it is not in there. If you are finding this useful, hit subscribe. I cover Ram maintenance and common mistakes like this every week. Now let me give you the 3 products that actually belong in your Ram. Number 3 on the good list. Gumount Rean Complete Fuel System Cleaner. Remember earlier when I said skip the basic Gumout? This is the one you actually want. The Rean formula has a high concentration of PEA, which is the stuff that actually dissolves carbon instead of just pushing it around. You have to make sure you grab the bottle that specifically says Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner, not the injector cleaner, not the multi-system tune-up, the Complete Fuel System Cleaner. It usually runs about $7 to $9 at most auto parts stores, and it punches way above its price point. I've recommended this one to Ram owners on a budget for years, and nobody has come back with a complaint. But the next one on this list has something no other product can claim, and it involves your actual Ram owner's manual. Number 2, Chevron Techron Concentrate Plus. This one carries some serious credibility because Ram literally put it in the owner's manual. If you flip to the fuel section of your Ram owner's manual, it says that if carbon deposits cause issues, you can use Mopar Injector Cleanup or Techron. That is not me recommending it. That is the company that built your truck recommending it. Techron uses the same type of carbon-dissolving formula that has been around for decades, and it works. One bottle every 3,000 to 5,000 miles as a maintenance dose is all you need. Some Ram owners I have talked to noticed smoother idle and better throttle response after just one treatment. The 20-ounce bottle treats up to 20 gallons, and you can find it at pretty much any auto parts store, Walmart, or even Costco when it goes on sale. If you only buy one cleaner for your Hemi, this is the safe bet. But if you want the strongest formula on the market, there is one bottle that beats everything else on the shelf. Number 1 on the good list, Redline SI1, Complete Fuel System Cleaner. This stuff is the real deal. It has the highest concentration of carbon dissolving detergent of any fuel system cleaner you can buy off the shelf. And unlike a lot of products that make big claims, Redline actually has borescope evidence backing it up. Ram Forum members ran it through their 5.7 Hemi engines and took before and after photos of the piston tops. The carbon reduction was visible, and it was significant. Now it is more expensive than Techron or Regain. You are looking at around $12 to $15 a bottle, but you are getting a way more concentrated formula, so you need less product per treatment. One bottle handles up to 20 gallons. If your Ram has high miles, if you have been running cheap gas, or if you are noticing rough, idle, and sluggish throttle, this is the one I would reach for first. It is the closest thing to a professional fuel system service you can do in your own driveway. So that is the list. 7 cleaners that do not belong anywhere near your Ram truck, and 3 that actually deliver. Use a good cleaner twice a year at most, and stop falling for the marketing on cheap bottles at the gas station counter. Your Hemi will thank you. But none of this matters if you bought the wrong Ram to begin with. Some models will nickel and dime you into the ground, no matter how well you maintain them, and others will run for 300,000 miles without breaking a sweat. I made a whole video breaking down the 3 worst and 4 best Ram models to own. And if you are shopping for a used Ram or thinking about trading yours in, you need to watch that before you spend a single dollar.